Hello and welcome to Rosed FC, your weekly roundup of the football stories that we deem appropriate. My name is Ed Cavalier, and joining us live from the United Kingdom, place he's claiming is the place of his birth. James, welcome aboard.
Very good morning, as it is here. I got a very fast shock and readjustment to English life yesterday when I turned up at the airport in shorts, and that was the looks more than anything I got from the people in the airport.
Well, you got to start wearing something else apart from just that. And a man who's last seen in shorts, probably on a golf course somewhere. That seems to be the only place he's ever found when he's not working in television studios. Adam Peacock, welcome back.
I'm in shorts right now, Ed. You'd be happy to know.
No, I can tell. From the camera angle you've provided us, it's a graphic rendition.
And happily for everyone involved, including myself, wearing a shirt. How are you, Ed?
I'm very well. Thank you so much. First things first, big shout out to our sponsors this week. This week we are sponsored by the Hunter Biden Innocence Project. So thank you to everyone who contributed to that. We've had a huge win during the week. And to Western United, the A-League football club, who was kind enough to host me and my 7-year-old son at their unfortunate 3-1 loss to Melbourne victory. It's not because I spoke to John Aloisi before the game. That is not the cause of the loss, I would like to point out. So what we're going to do is we've each picked a topic from the world of football. Now, as I said before, if you're here for analysis of teams over or underperforming their XG, this is not the show for you. But I can point you in the direction of several hundred of them that are currently doing it right now. So who would like to open the batting?
I think James has travelled far and wide to get to this point. So, Dodsy, go.
Well, I might have to have a rethink, because I thought, given I'm back in England, I could talk about Southampton now underperforming their XG, which is what. I'll kick it off. And this was inspired by a couple of stories that have done the rounds in the last week or so, 2 weeks, but also when I was actually in Dubai International Airport yesterday. Feels like yesterday. It might have been the day before. I can't really remember that. But the amount of Premier League and La Liga shirts, Bundesliga shirts, Serie A shirts you see just walking around an international hub of that size, it struck a chord with me, given the stories that have emerged from La Liga in particular, and the president Javier Tebas recently talking about how they are now really going to fast track the idea of taking a regular season game overseas.
Yes.
Now, this is something that I remember when I was 8 years ago when I was living in England, that they were talking about the 13. And this was something the fans hated, and they would shut this down straight away. And they were like, "Oh no, well, what we'll do is we'll make it worthwhile, and we'll do it after the season." So it's kind of a bolt on to the season. Again, shut down very quickly. Fast forward, 7-8 years time, and we're now in a position where La Liga is saying, "Yeah, we're going to do this, and we're actually not going to do it at the end of the season. We're not going to do it before the season. This is going to be Barcelona Atletico Madrid is the game that they've proposed, and instead of playing that at Montjuic, which is the stadium Barcelona are playing in at the moment, instead of Camp Nou while that's being renovated, they're going to take it to Miami. Now, they're waiting final approval. They tried to do this a few times in the last 3-4 years, but it was always shut down by Luis Rubiales, the Mr. Kissel, the disgraced dude who used to run the Spanish FA. So that was always shut down by them, and they thought, okay, well, we'll keep this on the back burner. They're now in a position where they're going to probably do this. So much to the extent that FIFA have set up a working committee this year to determine.
That's a good job.
They love a committee.
That is free money. I'd like to put my hand up to be on the working committee. That's free money, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's free money. When you go to Miami and you say, "Adam, does anyone think we can play soccer here?" And everyone goes, "Yep." Anyway, back to the hotel.
Well, oddly enough, FIFA have decreed all their staff who are interested in working on the 2026 World Cup, they're not doing it out of Zurich. They all have to move to Miami. And that's where the center of the center of the FIFA universe is right now. And it's the center of the Barcelona universe, because basically, if you're a Barcelona fan, you can get back in a time machine and go back to like 2012. And there's your Barcelona team playing for Inter Miami.
Well, I was going to say,
or you get in a time machine, you're going back to Perth, either way, 2012. So this working committee they set up, they had a conference in Bangkok, obviously, wherever you want to go. Where do we fancy this week, lads? I tell you, let's go to Bangkok. It's good fun there. So the main considerations of this working committee into this idea as to whether or not they can take regular season games overseas was to look at the fairness on the fans, the balance between home and away fixtures, whether that's fair between the two clubs who would be having to, the away team, for example, to travel over to Miami, the sporting fairness within the fixture schedule, the impact on the leagues in that country. So MLS is booming at the moment. We know that has been for the last 6 or 7 years. And the issues around player safety and travel, essentially. Now, if there's enough money, I dare say, on the table, those things will be they're fine. Don't worry about that. Yeah, but he says he doesn't want to travel. Yeah, but it's 200 grand. So I think those are the factors that FIFA are looking at. Now, we know when FIFA wants to do something, they'll do something.
Yeah.
Like the Club World Cup that they're bringing in now, which is,
Does anyone know who's broadcasting that yet? Have you guys been? I've been checking my text messages daily. Adam, who are you hosting it for? Do you know yet?
No. We're doing it right here. We've put in a bid.
We've won the right. We've won the rights. Fantastic. Bags not Auckland City games. Yes. Thank you.
think about it. So all those things seem to be that they're pushing this down the line in favour of getting it done. Now, the arguments in the past were always, but it's not fair on the fans who go week in, week out. And now I have to say, I used to be, and I think I'm somewhere in the middle now, still haven't really made up my mind, but used to be in the boat of, well, it's disrespectful to the punters who go every other week at home and have had season tickets for 40 plus years, and the ones who turn in when it's rubbish and it's pouring down with rain in the middle of January and they're losing 2-0 to home to Stoke, for example. Bad Arsenal memories. Now, I think, well, clubs, do they feel the same way? And I actually think they don't. And I don't think they felt that way about the diehard home and away supporters. And I don't think they felt that way about them for some time, because ultimately, that's not where they make their money. I think Arsenal, if memory serves me well, they used to make about £1 million a match day at the Emirates. That's chump change in comparison to what they would get if they decided to liaise with Liverpool and take Arsenal, Liverpool to New York. You imagine the amount of money that they would make as a football club there, from the merch, from the sponsorship stuff they do, from the gate receipts from having it in Yankee Stadium or MetLife Stadium, for argument's sake. And the more I thought about this, then you factor in things like, clubs not even allowing the clock in the stadium to tick past 90 when it gets to 90. They don't care about match-to-match going fans. The product is so much better for an armchair fan, for me sitting watching Arsenal at 7 a.m. tomorrow morning, Australia time, against Manchester United, than it is for someone in the stadium, because they don't get to see all the replays of stuff that happens. It feels as though this whole thing is now being geared to, and that clubs and leagues have finally essentially decided that actually the people that are most important to us are the highest bidders, and the people that pay the Premier League rights in China and the Middle East and America and Australia and all these countries around the world. So my topic today was to see what you guys think as well, as to whether or not you think this is a good idea to take these games overseas, and whether or not actually you think it's inevitable anyway, given that we know what Saudi Arabia are doing in the world of football at the moment, and sport in particular. They will say to the Premier League, how much do you want? Give us the Manchester derby. We will give you a blank check, put your figure down, and we'll get it done. So that was my bone of contention and my hot topic for the week.
Super Cups and
to Saudi Arabia.
To Saudi Arabia, they've done that, and I think Italy have done that as well. They're telling us it's not the league. It's not you play at home, you play away, the same team all the way through. Yeah, I know it's inevitable. I'm not disagreeing with you, Ed, about the fact that this is the way the world is going.
Yeah,
I agree with that. Yeah. Dodger.
I was going to say, it also comes down to the clubs, as in the big boys, because it will only be the big boys who get invited. With all due respect, you're not getting Southampton Palace in Jeddah. Oh, that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Right. Well, Adam, but also, the issue you've got with this is it's going to be slanted and heavily biased towards the big boys. Now, that will be fine for them making money, and the smaller clubs will get the shits because they're making all the money and they're not getting invited, unless it's the Manchester United they're playing a home game and they say, oh, we'll take the fixture against Everton away, or we'll take the one against Southampton away to New York or wherever it may be, Singapore. But then you're not going to get Palace against Southampton played in Jeddah because they're not interested in that. That doesn't make issue. And then at the end of the season, the big clubs are going to go, yeah, we've made all this money, but then we're doing all the travelling, and it's not fair. So they're always going to, kick the can in whichever direction they see fit, and which suits them, how they're woken up that morning.
Yeah, there is a tipping point approaching as well about what you can and can't do with players. And obviously at the start of this season, everyone was really wary because the cycle has been mid-season World Cup all the way through, little break, all the way through Euros or Copa America, and then away we go again like nothing's happened, like they've had a 6-week off season, and they're playing, 50 plus games, that the leading players at a high intensity. And you've seen the big players go down at various stages for various reasons. So yeah, there is a tipping point to be had, but I'll counter that with Palace or Southampton in Jeddah. Say if Palace end up with one of the Saudi Arabian best players, or for instance, Tottenham get an offer from some promoter in Korea to say, come over here and we'll give you untold amount of money, more than you can make from your magnificent stadium in London. That's the way I can see it happening and temptation coming into the equation for the English clubs. But as I said before, I think it's much more likely to be a regular thing on the continent before it becomes a regular thing in the Premier League.
I guess I just finished by saying, why is a Tottenham fan in Seoul deemed to be less of a fan than someone who happens to have been born in the area near the stadium? That fundamentally to me is the argument that they never have an answer for. It's like, I was born in Australia. My friend got me into Inter Milan. I've followed Inter Milan my whole life. I've probably seen not every match, but I watch every single match I possibly can. I buy a shirt. I buy a little online membership I don't even know why I do it. What makes me less of an Inter Milan fan because someone happened to have been born in the Duomo? Like, why am I less of a fan than them?
Yeah, to me, though, that's like saying that Augusta, I can go and play on a simulator, and that's the same experience of going to the US Masters.
But then hang on. Well, not really, because you're saying that it's the location that is the. You're saying location is the key. No, it's the event. So, the Masters is tied to it's only at Augusta. Tottenham Inter play in 20 cities a year, maybe more. There's just different types of competition play at those things. Well, why can't they play Milan in Melbourne for points?
I think the point that sticks with a lot of people,
English people,
would be something that
English people.
Yeah, it is.
You've got to be very specific. A small amount of English people who still think that football is a colony that they run. That's the only people who think.
Would that not be the same for Inter fans, right? Would Inter fans be
less
the
so.
ones who go to San Siro everywhere?
So.
Would they still be annoyed losing a game?
I never hear this argument on European football shows or international football shows. I never hear it. It's always from English people on English shows talking about the Premier League. Always.
What about like this one? What about James, the Barcelona fans? I don't know if you've had time to read the Barcelona press about this particular idea and the reaction.
Well, to be honest, it falls the same way. They don't like going to Montjuic anyway.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
They don't like the stadium.
What was the big? There was a huge part of it that was empty the other day.
Yeah, and that's because they didn't allow the ultras in because they were chanting things recently, and the club had to cop the fine for it. And the club tried to give them the fine. We're not paying that.
They sent them a fine. It was amazing.
But the difference in that comes down to, and it's sad, but it's true, money. Because the Spanish fans all had a very different slant on the Super League because they're annoyed that English clubs are the richest in the world, bar the Saudi clubs now, right? That's not their own money. The English clubs are the richest in the world. That's why the Spanish fans didn't have a problem with the Super League. You listen to some of the radio shows, and they all said they like the idea of the Super League because it means they can challenge, even though Real Madrid win the Champions League every year. So if they're not challenging, so that's where the difference lies in them. I think the thing that sticks in the throat of, and you're right, it is a lot of English supporters, is that they would say, and I remember when I used to work at, I was at TalkSport and I'd go to games every weekend, and I remember when Heung-min Son first joined Tottenham, and I dare say, this isn't the case now, but it was the case then that a few Tottenham fans that I had mates I was friends with, I should say, were annoyed that when someone gets subbed off, those fans would leave. And I think that was.
But how much had they paid? How much had they paid for that ticket from a season ticket holder that wasn't there? So if they want to play that game, they can, but they need to go up to our friends from Seoul and say, "Excuse me, who did you buy your ticket off?" Because the answer is going to be a season ticket holder who decided to make money off me rather than come to this game. So once again, forget it. It's just nonsense. It's a nonsense argument that is only propagated by a small selection of English people who think that football is their colony.
Righto, Ed, can you unfurl yourself from your Union Jack flag that you're wearing?
No, I will not.
Tell us about your topic this week.
I love that James stumbled onto the one that I'm absolutely rabid about. Woo! So, okay, so I'm all about the Saudi bid. Did you guys see the rating that the Saudi Arabian World Cup bid got from our friends at FIFA?
But go on.
The best.
On a working committee, no doubt.
You're right. So here we go, right? FIFA has given. So they ranked the bids. So remember, when Australia lost we get one vote, was it? Something like that? Anyway, whatever. So we had a great rating. We had a better rating than Qatar initially, remember? And then all of a sudden we just didn't anymore. So the rating for the Saudi World Cup bid is the highest ever, which is 4.2 out of 5. Right?
Don't know why I imagine Donald Trump saying that in that voice.
You never see. And so that's higher. How's this? That's higher than the rating that FIFA gave to the joint bid by the United States, Canada, and Mexico for the 2026 World Cup. And here's the best bit, right? FIFA says that the 4.2 out of 5 bid provides significant opportunities for a positive impact on human rights. And the tournament could act as a catalyst for current and future reforms and contribute to positive outcomes for the people of Saudi Arabia and the region. It goes on to say that it beat the US and Canada despite 8 of the stadiums not being built yet.
That reads
like a parody account on Twitter.
No,
Fantastic.
it reads like a scorecard of a round of golf of a North Korean leader. That's what that reads like.
Well, actually, it says here that they've already won that World Cup, so that's nice. They beat. It was a 100-all draw in the final with Saudi Arabia. And they said they didn't lose any points, which was good for daytime temperatures exceeding 40 degrees in the summer, and they didn't lose any points for not having 8 of the stadiums built and only being able to survive, quote, conceptual drawings. 4 point.
That'd be good.
Are they saying that this
though.
World Cup is going to be akin to Qatar and it's going to be shifted again? Is that what they're going to plan to do, do we think?
I haven't heard that yet. I think they think, nah, we ain't moving nothing. We've got these 8 we've got these 8 stadiums that are yet to be built, and she's all sweet. Hey, what do you mean questioning? What are you saying? You saying they didn't deserve their 4.2 out of 5? What did they lose I believe. What did they lose 0.8 for?
Yeah, exactly. That's what they're asking.
Yeah. We paid for 6 out of 5. I believe if you check, look,
it will be.
So
I was in Qatar. I don't know about you guys. I was in Qatar. It was palatial. The stadiums, they were so comfortable. It was easy to get around. No alcohol actually made it a more enjoyable experience inside the stadiums. I actually went on the first day I was there for England-Iran. I went round the back. And an England football game, James, you've probably been to a couple. So it's a social experience.
With a firecracker on the date.
And a history lesson as well, Adam, if you're not sure.
Exactly. There were 14 people at the bar an hour before kickoff drinking the non-alcoholic beer. I had one. If you delved deep enough into your mind, you could maybe twist it to say, I'm having a great time here. There is alcohol in this beer. But it wasn't the case.
Delve into your mind.
But in terms of transport, in terms of comfort, in terms of getting around, there was no problems whatsoever. It was a brilliantly put on tournament. It was just how we came to that point, because I did make the effort of going down to Asia Town, which is where all the migrant workers live, and taking a poke around there and having a look at how they live. Yeah. And yes, it was diametrically opposed to up there on the bay near the Corniche where all the 5-star hotels were, put it that way.
I would just like to say that I agree with FIFA that Saudi Arabia, with their 4.2, are officially the greatest ever place for a World Cup.
In prospect,
just in all overall.
No.
I think you'll find that it's already been the best tournament ever. Thank you for asking.
I'm looking forward to episode 3, brought to you by Visit Saudi.
Don't you two? You've no clue of the places I will take money from. So that's me. Long live the 4.2 out of 5. All right, Mr. Peacock.
We'll hold on to that, won't we, Ed?
We're going to hold you to this. Yeah, okay. Mr. Peacock.
So I'm going to go to the other end of the economic spectrum, if you like, to the bottom of League One in England. Burton Albion. Now, before I get rolling with this story, James, can you point me in the direction of where Burton sits in the terms of places you've got to visit in the UK? With all due respect, if you're going to bag them, to the good people of the Midlands town of Burton.
I've been to Burton. I went to a League Cup. It was a midweek game. I've been a replay. Though I think they played Liverpool. I think it might be.
I've just read that they've
at the Pirelli Stadium
just sold that game to Jeddah for 100 drachma.
And it might have even been when Jackson Irvine
I was just about to say, was Socceroos captain Jackson Irvine still there with his brown hair?
Yeah. They're famously Brewers. There's a brewery there, very close to the stadium. Listen, it's not high on the list of places you must visit. It's above Burnley. I can give you that. Yeah, and
But
Stoke.
it's nice enough. It's nice enough.
Yeah, it's fine. It's like one of those places in England where they're 10 a penny, and it's
I've never seen it on
like you would
great
get us.
railway journeys with Michael Portillo.
So Burton is not the worst place in England, but they're one of the worst teams in professional football in England at the moment. They're bottom of League One. And this all twists itself into what I'll bring. The topic I want to bring up today is when consortium takeovers go wrong.
Yeah.
Because
good topic.
this is
good
one
topic
right
yes.
now. So Burton were taken over by the Nordic Football Group, who include investors. They're an eclectic bunch of Scandinavian investors, worth a bit. They've got a couple of ice hockey professionals, Erik Karlsson being one, Matt Zuccarello being the other. If you cross your ice hockey NHL, you'll know those names. If not, we move on. H&M chairman Carl Johan Persson is involved as well. So he'd have a bit of coin, all those $12 T-shirts that fit nicely for 3 washes and then they stretch. But they came in and took over from long-standing chairman who, friend of the town, I think. He's a big man in town, Ben Robinson, who sold in the summer, thought he couldn't keep up with the way that football was going. So this Nordic Football Group have come in and promised, we won't be City Football Group. We're not going to transform you into a Premier League powerhouse within 5 years. But they want to mean something to the town. They want to lift the standard of the football. They want to do things differently. They want to have a bit of fun. Like the town is surrounded by breweries because that's where a lot of the beer companies emanated from in England. So they're called the Brewers, Burton Albion. So we're going to have a bit of fun with that. We're going to make it an entertaining place. So entertaining, in fact, 16 games into League One. They're last with 1 win. And also, last weekend, they got knocked out by non-league Tamworth on pens of the FA Cup, to which point fans obviously have had enough. They put one of those, I love reading social media posts when things go to shit with a football team, no matter what the sport, they go, the result, and go, not our day, or whatever like that, the caption. Fans start chiming in. So they put up on social media, they put up a spend New Year's Eve at the Pirelli, our home ground. We're going to have a big party there with fireworks. And one punter on it responded, could have been posting about Tottenham at home in the FA Cup, but got this. So, because that's who Tamworth got in the FA Cup. But this is to the point of the dreams that are given fans and they're taken away by reality with consortiums have come in. The kicker in all of this is on October 23, when things were going really bad, the manager that they appointed, the Nordic Football Group, Mark Robinson, was relieved of his duties. As we sit here right now before their blockbuster clash against Peterborough in League One, a midweek game, they are still without a manager 6 weeks on. They've got an interim coach. They are a club and there's no communication. The Nordic Football Group all of a sudden don't know what they're doing. And I really feel for the diehards of Burton Albion, but this points to the dream that football fans are sometimes sold, and then the reality kicks in, and it's the polar opposite. I can't imagine what a town like that is like. Dodsy, have you seen instances like this where people are sold? Actually, before we get to you, Dodsy, let's go to Steve and Jack, who do vlogs about home games and away games pertaining to the great Burton Albion Football Club.
Just the faces on the thumbnail says it.
This is in the car after the Charlton loss last week, or most recent loss in the.
It needs a manager now.
Having a head coach is useless.
It's ridiculous. It really is.
A head coach is just completely and utterly failing. We need a man that's going to be on the sidelines, who knows what he wants to play, who knows the players he wants to sign. Yeah. You need to give them a manager role. You need to give them the freedom. It's the only way it's going to happen. Unfortunately, it's the only way. I'm just that depressed.
It's rubbish.
I can't be arsed to have a go, because what's the point?
I've been quite level-headed up till now, and even the guys around us have.
That's my favourite bit.
Steve and Jack, I love people like Steve and Jack because they are football clubs, especially in League One. And the melancholy of the guy on the left, I'm going to presume he's Jack. I don't know. They put Steve up. He looks like the host. If you were listening to that, you should have seen the look on Jack's face. He's just sitting there looking at the windscreen and going, what am I doing with my life? This football club is just eating me from the inside, and it's horrible. But this is what happens when you get people who think they know what they're doing and they don't know what they're doing get involved.
I'm that depressed I can't be bothered to have a go. And that would be the life for fans of Portsmouth back in the day. I think it was a fellow called Ali Al Faraj, if memory serves me well, who didn't actually exist. Was one of the owners that bought Portsmouth when the Gatormax sold it on.
Oh,
It was just a list of people who had bad intentions with the football club. That what do they call it? The fit and proper persons test or whatever it was back then. I think it's changed now, but they were just basically saying, "You've got the money. It looks like you've got the money. Yeah, sure. Football club's all yours."
Who was that? Who was that guy who invested in Valencia and he got in Gary Neville for 13
He's a
games
limp.
and it was a disaster?
He's a limp, still there. And if you look at where Valencia are now, as we check at the second bottom in La Liga, Valencia, and they've had 7 losses and just 2 wins to start the season. They hate him. They hate him.
Club. Yeah,
massive club. That club realistically is probably a Tottenham or a Newcastle, someone of that stand, or like an Everton, someone of that kind of caliber of historical nature of Spanish football. And
So-
that would be the case. Just there's been so many stories in English football where somebody comes in. Yeah, I mean, look, I was listening to a podcast the other day where they were talking about the situation at Birmingham, and the Chinese guy who brought Birmingham in appointed beforehand. So before, when they were really going to shit, he appointed his director of football was a fellow who he knew ran a successful Chinese restaurant in China.
How big was it?
Sporting
How big was
director.
it? And is he?
Oh, I mean, it was cover
Yeah,
story
he was
night after
No, but
night.
seriously, he was getting in poultry that you would not believe at prices you couldn't. He was sourcing bats from places you've never heard of.
These are the people that were taking charge of football club. I think Reading is in a
poor
similar
things.
situation at the moment as well.
Yeah, that makes
Players
Well, a
aren't
local
being paid
businessman
wages
tried to
and-
take over them this week, and he got rebuffed by the owner, who's just
Really?
holding out for more. And it's like everyone's screaming at them, going, "This will save this football club, and will keep it the fabric of this town." But so Ed, have you got any tales and shake your head stories of consortiums and owners?
Well, I
and-
777 obviously is part of this. Their sort of house of cards that they're allegedly running has got some stake in Melbourne Victory. So that's sort of closer. This is the thing. Every day you've got to refresh your browser on which teams have been bought by who, just to make sure you go, oh, they're owned by that now. Inter Milan, my team, we were owned by Suning for a while. When everything. And now I remember I saw this video. Doddsy, I turned on the TV and my mate sent me. Actually, he lives in London. He sent me a video going, this isn't good. And it was a video from China of the government decreeing that Suning had to knock down basically half a town they'd built on spec in China because they'd overpriced them, couldn't sell them. They were empty, thankfully, and people hadn't moved in yet. And he said, I don't think this is looking good. I said, no, I think you're right. I think we might be stuck with one Korea for a while. But this is how we all fall. This is how they all just fall into the hands of American private equity. This is how the Omaha pension funds end up owning your football club. Now, you want to talk about playing games away? Well, you better be very, very careful that you are literally not, Burton Albion playing for the Omaha pension fund in Omaha versus a team of, Nordic ice hockey cast-offs, because that is where this will end up. They'll just start going, oh, we're going to have to find money. You guys are going to, that's much more from Miguel Delaney's book. We're going to try and get Miguel on State of Play. I just finished reading that. I recommend it to everybody. Miguel's fantastic. He talks about the big global, the sports washing, the takeovers, etc., the Russian influence, all that sort of thing. And he makes some really interesting points about this, about the idea that people, they get poured into a group of football clubs. But what if you're not the priority in that group? We're already starting to see that now. Like, Ineos sucks, don't they? What's some of their other clubs that are going terribly?
Nice.
Yeah, Nice. They're
Nice.
terrible.
They've got Nice.
And they just sort of fail upwards, much like myself. Now, gentlemen, we're rapidly running out of time here. So what we thought we'd start doing is, because it's Rosette FC, we've got to start bringing things to our club. So we want people to help us. So if you've got a question, actually, hit us up on the YouTube comments. We'll answer your questions next week. If you're an English football person who'd like to yell at me for suggesting that your game should be played overseas, then please let me know. But just make sure that all your season tickets are being sold to season ticket holders at this point.
Conversely,
just check that before you call me.
In the comments, we're actually going to put Ed's home address, and we want you to go around there with massive speakers to play Rule Britannia out the front of his house.
It hasn't been built yet. It's in Jeddah, and it hasn't been built yet. But Suning's put in an offer. I live in the Metricon capital of Australia. Everywhere you look, there is a banner for a Metricon house going up next to me. So we need a mascot, and I thought I might throw this into the mix today. I would like this to be our mascot. I'd like to introduce
We need a mascot. Okay, here
I
we
think
go.
I know who it is. I think
Oh,
it's going to
here
be
we
one
go.
of two. It's going to be one of two.
I'd like to introduce you to my friend, the mascot who was arrested this week. 8 policemen had to arrest this mascot.
He looks so confused.
It looks massive as well.
Look at him. I mean, I think he's on the juice. I don't know about you guys, but I think he's on the egg whites. And they
That is a big,
They did a
big
full
cock.
cloaca search, and they found a series of contraband. Look at that, 8 armed police.
Where is this? Ed?
This is in it's in
Argentina.
This is in Argentina, and it's look at the riot squad. The riot squad come over. Is this chicken bothering you, sir? So
Did he try and do a runner? Did he try and bolt? Well,
Favourite mascot
Yeah.
is, I remember being at the Hawthorns working West Brom's ground, and it was when they signed the deal with Ideal Boilers, and they had a fella come out dressed as a boiler, this big square box with the little legs hanging out the bottom, and you could just see his eyes are somewhere in the dials on the front of the boiler. And he's walking. I think it might still be their mascot now. That, and when you see mascot standing on the halfway line doing a moment's silence, and they've got the grins permanently.
I was just about to say that. He looks like something out of Toy Story, like Woody and his girlfriend or whatever. They're standing there in the middle of Remembrance Day on the centre circle, like looking solemnly down at the ground. If you want to waste a fun 20 minutes, go straight to that on social media. There it is, the boy. But go to Mascots Minutes Silence on social media. It'll be worth your time. The boiler. Oh, that's great. Yeah, I think, James, I don't think we're on TikTok, but we're certainly on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast, and wherever you get your podcast from at RoseEdFC.
If you want to get in touch, send us questions on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, Instagram, individually, we're all on there. Get in touch. Be abusive, I'm sure you will be, because we haven't spoken about Southampton's XG. We'll see you next week.
See you next week. See you guys.